Evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, how are you doing? Hope you're well this evening. This is the Brews at 10 on my left eye. I'm your host, Lefty. Thanks for joining me this evening for a cup of Solidari-tea. Okay, let's see if we've got anyone in the chat. Yeah. Oh, Davinia, how are you doing? Good evening to you. And Andy Carter as well. Thanks for joining us. Right, what's coming up? Well, there's background music. Yes, so there have been some arrests at a pro-Palestine demonstration today, in tandem with the King's speech in Parliament. Going to be talking, of course, about both of those subjects. What can you say? We were talking recently about the ridiculous farce of the various traditions of Parliament, and this is just one of them, of course. And Starmer's begun to set his stall out for what we can expect from his government. Oh, and it's going to be an absolute revolution. No, only joking. It's well, it's not even lukewarm. It's certainly not sleeves rolled up change that he was harping on about in the run up to the election. And this is before he's U-turned on the meagre offerings that he's supplied via the King's speech. Yes, so I'll be having a look at that debate as well. And latest from Gaza, of course, here on my left eye. But ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, please do remember to hit the thumbs up button to help the stream reach more people. And hit the notification bell as well to keep up to speed with all the latest content. I'm going to be briefly referring to one or two bits that we touched on yesterday as well. Nomad, welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good one. I'll be diving into the clips and bits and pieces just a moment. For those of you who aren't subscribed, please do so. You can join others in the chat just a minute later as well. And you might want to continue supporting the channel with a membership. It's just 99p. You get some great perks. Also, one of the better ways to help support the channel is to gift memberships to other viewers. Super chats, super thanks are also open as well on this stream. Thanks a lot for those of you who continue to support. We'll kick off with the usual thank you to all the current members on the channel. And if you want to join that list, as I said, it's just 99p. Hit the join button, you can find out the perks. Exclusive content, etc. And early viewings, things like that. Special thanks as well to those of you who've gifted memberships to others lately as well. Thanks for that show of solidarity and support. Yeah, of course, I normally start with a bit of a parody clip or a comedy clip, but things have been a bit dry on the parody front since the election. I think all of the better known ones are trying to gauge what's happening with Labour before they can get out there and, you know, do new material around that. So yeah, I'm going to show the one I showed you yesterday again. I just think it's a great impression as well. Anyway, and for those of you who weren't with us yesterday, you get a chance to check it out. Paula, if you, yeah, thanks for your query. If it doesn't say join, it might say perks, and then if you hit that, it'll show you the perks, and then that should be a link to join the channel. It's also in the description for the live stream and for the page as well. Thanks a lot for being here tonight. Davinian's having a couple of connection problems, I think. Let me know, anyone else, if you're having any issues. It says here I've got a good connection. I'm not sure if it's at this end or yours, Davinia. Keep trying. Right, so here's this Trump impression, just once more.
You can take my ears, but you cannot take my liberty. They want to cut off my ears like the Taliban, but what they don't know is my ears can grow back like SpongeBob through budding, by the way. Hit me with your best shot, why don't you? Because if that's the best you got, you're a loser. You're such a loser, you missed so bigly. By the way, you had a big opportunity. You could have made my head blow up on TV, but you didn't do that, did you? Now my ear is going to grow back bigger and better. It will have better hearing. I will hear like an owl.
Yeah, really like that one. Still trying to find out if the original uploader was for that. Sorry, I can't credit this guy, but that was a really good impersonation. Yeah, we talked about the aftermath of the assassination attempt on yesterday's live stream and before that as well. Not got anything new really on that front, but did mention as well about this the new selection, JD Vance. And just quickly before we get on to the topics in the title of the live stream, just want to go through this latest update. Here's a reminder of what Vance said about the UK.
By the way, I have to beat up on the UK, just one additional thing. I was talking with a friend recently, and we were talking about, you know, one of the big dangers in the world, of course, is nuclear proliferation, though, of course, the Biden administration doesn't care about it. And I was talking about, you know, what is the first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon? And we were like, maybe it's Iran, you know, maybe Pakistan already kind of counts. And then we sort of finally decided maybe it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over. But to my Tory friends, I have to say, you guys have got to get a handle on this, but neither.
Oh, yeah. What can you say about him? That's appalling. Obviously, as I went through yesterday, it's an atrocious thing to say. It's racist, xenophobic, everything else. Paula Gilmore, thanks for joining the channel. Hope you enjoy the perks. Welcome to your membership. More perks, exclusive stuff to come as well on the channel. You're very welcome here. You also get static emojis that you can use on the live streams as well. Davinia's still having some connection issues. Might be Chrome. We'll see. Keep trying. I admire your determination. Thanks so much. Yes, where was I with Vancy here? fancy pants. Pat McFadden, who is the life and soul of every party he goes to, for those of you who know him, was doing the media rounds, and the topic of Vance's statement here came up, and it's pretty appalling. Not just the usual emotionless, coma-inducing dross that you get when you hear Pat McFadden speak, but also just his attitude. Now, when the Tories left office, they didn't just hand the keys to number 10 to Labour. It looks like they handed them the script as well. You're going to predictably hear some very familiar phrases during this little sample of the interview that I've got lined up. But yeah, just pay attention to the language he's using. And it's literally word for word, in verbatim, the same language that the Tories themselves would use in their excuses. So this is Pat McFadden. I don't know. You might want to pop an extra sugar in your brew, in your Solidari-tea tonight. Just while it's only a brief clip. But it's very Tory.
Make about this would-be Vice President Vance and his comments specifically about your government. I was talking about, what its first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon. Maybe it's Iran, maybe Pakistan. Already kind of counts. And then we finally decided that it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over.
Well, I don't think he's right about that.
Are you offended?
Look, I don't think it's right.
Are you offended?
I'm not offended, but I just...
Well, it was particularly Islamophobic, Pat, you have to say. So he's not offended by what Vance has had to say. But it gets worse. And the point about the syntax, just go back to the start of McFadden's response there.
And then we finally decided that it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over.
Well, I don't think he's right about that.
Are you offended?
Look, I don't think it's right.
Are you offended?
He doesn't think he's right. What he said was wrong. Does that ring any bells? Does that ring any bells with a certain Tory scandal of not too long ago? Cough, cough. 30p Lee. Yeah, it's exactly the same language. And when you try and pin them down to whether it was racist or not, that's all you'll get. That's all you'll get, the same crap of responses. Looks like McFadden has sent himself to sleep there. We're off freeze-framed.
I'm not offended, but I just don't agree with it. I read his book a few years ago. I thought his book was good.
He thought Oh, let's not talk about that. I've read his book, and his book's really good. This clearly racist, and as we talked about yesterday, corrupt Republican, careerist, who used to be a critic of Trump. But he's had a word with his accountant. And now he's a coroner. Now he's, could potentially be VP. Appalling. And this is, of all the people that we have to suffer, Pat McFadden, I hope there's not too much more of this over the next 5 years. I really don't. Looks like Davinian's going to have to watch later on because of connection problems. But if you're watching in the future, yeah, thanks for catching up. We'll see you soon, no doubt. Take care. Anyway, onto this, the state opening of Parliament. Don't know if any of you noticed this, because I'm just going to be sort of skimming through an article. I'm not going to watch the full thing here tonight. It pretty much shows how pally-pally they are with each other. So this is where they're just going into the chamber in the House Commons, and Keith's there, and Sunak and Oliver Dowden come over. And as you can see there's Angela Rayner. And oh, aren't we all great friends? Let's share a laugh, a pat on the shoulder, a big smile. I bet it's been some time since, for example, you saw Starmer doing the same to Corbyn or Zara Sultana. But here, I mean, just look at that. Look at that. You know, one and the same much? I think just maybe a bit, yeah. Shall I bring this up first? Yeah, I'm going to bring this up first, just before we go into the King's speech debate in a bit more detail. There's been some positive positive news. Audrey White, thanks a lot for bringing this to our attention. So a court has found that it is plausible to describe Starmer as, quote, Tory scum. This was established long before a court ruling, so it's reasonable for protesters to call Keith Tory scum. So what happened? Let's go over and see. Yeah, not revolutionary, like I said. It's very thin. It's very poor. It's very weak. It's also very contradictory, what they're saying. You know, they're like, we're getting to work straight away on this. And you're hearing a lot of crappy boardroom language coming out there. I'm already getting tired of it. What are we in week 2? And it's things like it was during the pandemic. I got sick of hearing the word rollout, the phrase rollout, I should say. And it's, you know, been the same with a lot of things the Tories have said, but also now Labour are picking up the mantle. Deliver, deliver, deliver. That's one of my least favourites, of course. What else have we got in there? So we've got like boost and kickstart. We're going to kickstart this and boost that. But then at the same time, they'll tell you that they can't do anything, that the hands are tied from what they've inherited from the Tories, and that they know nothing about borrowing for public investment or taxation, say perhaps consistently on the super wealthy, or how to do public investment properly. So there's going to be a few delivers in this one as well. In fact, when we do start doing proper PMQs again, once that starts, that's going to be the counter. Regular viewers will know we used to do the stop the boats counter and the I'm a lawyer. But those days are done. The faces have changed. The game has changed. The policies, the ideology and the syntax remain the same.
Mr. Speaker, this government has been elected to deliver nothing less than national renewal, to stop the chaos of the past 14 years, turn the page on an era of politics as noisy performance, and return it to public service.
So he's promising a very consistently dull Parliament. And Rachel Reeves and Angela Rayner, excuse me, don't look particularly enthused. This isn't stuff that you can nod along with and go, thank goodness, now something real is happening. The other word on the list, one of the other words on the list, change as well. Probably got sick of hearing that, especially during the run-up to the election. And yeah, we'll throw that one in as well. He's already at it with the deliver crap. Goodness sake, Keith.
And start the work of rebuilding our country. A determined rebuilding, a patient rebuilding, a calm rebuilding.
He's just essentially saying, please, please, please don't kick off with us because we're going to be more of the same old crap. H. Lukill, thanks a lot for joining us again this evening. Thanks again for those 5 gifted memberships on yesterday's stream as well. Awesome show of solidarity. Thanks again for that. Hope you're well this evening. And he's promising nothing for 5 years. There's going to be a lot of dressing up, but there's going to be very weak or no policy underneath that when it's laid bare, really. The best example is the 2-child benefit cap. And what they'll do is, it's similar to what the Tories did, shockingly enough. Say, for example, with poverty. They'll change the syntax from poverty, because everyone knows that, you know, poverty drums up certain mental images because of the reality of what it actually is. And they'll change that to something like, oh, well, let's call it, you know, some arseholes come up with this in a boardroom in the wee small hours probably, but they say let's call it the cost of living crisis, and then they'll create a new department, governmental department, and there will be a minister for levelling up, and that's what it leads to. Just change the syntax, pretend as though you're doing something with the creation of a new board, a new department, and it's the same with this 2-child benefit cap. So they're going to create whatever they're calling it, the We Support Kids Force, or the, you know, I might mention it in the article. But again, that's just dressed up hollow crap. There's nothing in it. Or we've created the new, you know, super duper whooper force instead of trashing the 2-child benefit cap. Aren't we a bunch of fucking heroes? But don't forget to be quiet and be calm. Just literally keep calm and carry on. You're right there, Andy. He does like talking about turning the page. That's another one. That's also, I wouldn't say it's an earworm, but it's beginning to get my goat. Might create a bit of a list. There's so many. He's coming up with his own crap as well as repeating what the Tories have been saying, you see. That's the thing. Take the brakes off. Take the brakes off Britain. That's in this opening paragraph here. So he said his plan for government would take the brakes off Britain and put the country on the path of national renewal. This is bollocks. It's all, like I say, it's all just boardroom language. And they sound like, I don't know, they run a chain of department stores and they're trying to come up with some brilliant strategy, phrases, advertising slogans, this kind of thing. You know, we've really taken the brakes off with our discounts on brakes and tyres at such and such garage, whatever. What's more important is what isn't included. There's a lot of stuff that people were hoping that would go through there. Giving 16-year-olds the vote wasn't mentioned. Is one example of that. I'll get onto that shortly. Let's just go through a bit of this. So there were 39 bills the government hopes to pass. Given the majority, it's probably likely that most or all of them will. So there'll be no quick fix. So despite, this is the thing, by seats to his closest rival, he has a majority of, 291. The way it's actually worked out is actually it's a majority of 174 because you add up all of the other party's seats, etc., etc. The point being that it's certainly a big enough majority to be able to get through legislation quickly. There's nowhere near the hung parliament situation we had for 2 years in 17 to 19. So there's no excuse for it not getting through parliament quick enough. The fact of the matter is that there's just nothing in it. There's just nothing decent. It's not the remedy to anything. They put in sticking plasters on a gunshot wound, essentially. No pun intended, or reference to recent stage appearances by certain American political contenders. No mention of scrapping the two-child benefit cap, already mentioned that. Bill implementing Labour's manifesto promise to give 16 and 17-year-olds the vote in general elections was also missing, but ministers say this will be introduced at a later stage. You'll have to wait. You'll have to wait. You'll have to wait, and it's going to get into year 2, year 3, year 4, and in year 5, you're going to get. God, do you remember those Tories were so corrupt, weren't they? It's no wonder we never got anything done. And yeah, the Tories were corrupt. The remedies are there, the solutions are there, and it's not on just on benefits and welfare. It's on environmental policy, on energy policy, on nationalisation of ownership of utilities, on so many levels. So yeah, I won't actually play the video of, unless there's one in this article. I've not got one prepared. I mean, of the King's speech itself. I imagine it's not particularly endearing or compelling. Accompanied by the traditional pageantry. Following the King's speech, Tory leader Sunak said his party wouldn't oppose the government for the sake of it, but would hold it to account on its election promises. So what were they left with? 131 seats. Labour have over 412, I think it was, at final count. And leaders made speeches. Carla Denyer was actually supposed to make her maiden speech, but she had to go to the hospital. I saw her tweet earlier. I think it was something to do with emergency blood tests, which meant that she couldn't make her maiden speech. Hope she's doing well, but I think she said in the tweet that it's nothing to worry about. Ed Davey was up there. Let's just try and pick out some of the other points, some of the other policies as well, if we can find any. I mean, it's going to be like looking for a needle in a fucking haystack. Where this Tory, excuse me, my mistake, where this Labour government's concerned. Genuine mistake, genuine mistake. Yeah, littered with phrases. He went on for 12 minutes, did he? I can't say I've seen the whole thing the whole way through. I agree with organisations like Republic, I think these ceremonies are completely farcical. While we're on that subject, just very quickly, mentioned on a recent live stream that Clive Lewis made a protest when he was sworn in. Basically, his protest was about how you have to. He's opposed to having to swear to a sovereign as head of state, the king. He's been forced to reaffirm his oath without the protesting by the powers that be, apparently. So it's 12 minutes long, littered with phrases such as securing economic growth. Securing economic growth. It's just Tory echoes. Key driver of economic growth. Boost. We're going to boost this. One thing they've not said, and this is another one from the COVID pandemic era that really pissed me off as well. The ramping up and rolling out. And local growth plans. Growth. This, ever striving to get to the magic number, the GDP jackpot number, where everything solves itself. It's definitely not just a measuring stick for the ultra wealthy trying to compare dick sizes with GDP. No way. It solves everything in society because capitalism wins. Got that, folks? Great stuff. Go vote Labour. It's a joke, by the way. No, seriously though, it's already abundant to see. So Sunak's, what's this? He's said,
I understand well that the Chancellor is...
So the country's on its knees, and it looks like Sunak has come out with well, I lined it up for you, bro. Everything was going great guns when you took over. High five. That's probably why they were being so pally-pally on the way in. It's like, look how fantastic, what great shape the country's in. It'll almost be like when he took over as leader of the Labour Party, and there was a surplus in the coffers of some £35 million, I believe, and that was pissed up the wall in pretty short time. It's got to be said. And since then, a lot of people have cut the funding from the Labour Party as well, including the unions, but that's another matter. So he's got some neck, hasn't he, Sunak, to try and, what does it say in the subheading there? The inherited economy on upward trajectory, according to Sunak. With halved inflation, we're stopping the boats.
is keen to paint as bleak a picture as possible, but I would just gently point out that this is not exactly what the facts say. Inflation at 2%, unemployment 4%, and the fastest growing economy in the G7 so far this year. The party opposite has inherited an economy that is already on an upward trajectory. Now, the government have set out plans. The government has set out plans to strengthen the role of the Office for Budget Responsibility, and we will examine those proposals carefully. But the work of the OBR already means that the party opposite did have the full details of the public finances when they set out their manifesto. Now, the OBR has rightly taken away from governments the ability to make forecasts say what they want them to. But they have also taken away...
Was Penny gone, Rishi? Was you and Ollie look pretty lonely there? Sad Tories make me happy, but other Tories in government also make me unhappy. So I'll just leave it at that. There's only a couple of seconds left there. Had enough of that crap the last few years. Same crap, different faces now. Some of it's to do with tobacco and vaping bills, which bans people born after 1st of January 2009 from being able to buy cigarettes. Is he scrapping that? So we'll reintroduce some of those pieces. No, he's reintroducing it, so that's that one. They're going to establish Martin's Law, requiring premises to mitigate the impact of a potential terrorist attack. I'm trying to work, I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and have dead silence on the live stream while I try and figure that one out. Is this for businesses, I assume? Anyway, measures being campaigned for by Figan Murray, mother of Martin Het, one of 22 people killed in the 2017 terrorist attack on Manchester Arena. Of course, I've mentioned that previously on the channel. That was an awful day in Manchester's history, of course. So yeah, this is going to be to do with perhaps larger venues, larger properties. I can't see I mean, they're not radical at all. Many of these other policies. And he's already come under fire, obviously, for the two-child benefit cap thing. But I've still no doubt that most of these would go through Parliament. I can't see, you know, it would take a fairly decent chunk of Labour itself to vote against the legislation for it not to go through. With them having just got in, given the type of people that are in now, the level of careerists that there are, those loyal to Starmer, to the neoliberalism, to the Thatcherite, Blairite politics, and Peter fucking Mandelson, I'm sure that they wouldn't want to ruffle any feathers by voting against Starmer in the House of Commons. There would still be a few, and I do know that Zara Sultana, of course, of Coventry South, put in a motion for an amendment on the two-child benefit cap, so well done to her. You could, you know, you can count on one hand the number of Labour MPs who might go that far these days, so that's unfortunate. That's the way it's worked out. First past the post. Renters' Rights Bill banning no-fault evictions. There have been some campaigns against that. I guess that's you know, one of the few crumbs he's thrown on the table there. This one's a bit vague. Special Measures Bill making bosses of private water companies personally liable for law breaking. We'll see how the legislation on that one works out. Hopefully there's not going to be any loopholes around it, for example. Gangs, stop the gangs, stop the boats. They're carrying on with that crap. Conversion Practices Bill introducing new restrictions on abusive practices intended to change people's sexual orientation or gender identity. That's pretty spurious, the way that's worded, being honest. House of Lords Bill, Hereditary Peers Bill, removing hereditary peers from the upper chamber. Not sure about that. Do you remember when even Tony Blair was saying he'd abolish the House of Lords for God's sake? That turned out to be a lot of crap. Yes, like I said, I won't play through the full thing. Just another quick one. There's been a bit more pressure on Biden to step down and let someone else run the election, which is going to take place in November. This time it's a very prominent Democrat, Adam Schiff, former congressman, and he's running to be the state's next senator. So he's saying he could secure his legacy of leadership by allowing Democrats to support another candidate. Well, he's 81 now, isn't he? Joe Biden. Questions about his mental health, etc. This has come at the same time. We've unfortunately seen that massive rise in support for Trump as well. But, you know, neither of them are angels. That's just the latest on that. I won't go through that article. Is just the latest to have called for Biden to step down. Going to move on to other matters, though. Let's go back to the clips. Alright, so yeah, there've actually been over 50 arrests in this pro-Palestine at this pro-Palestine demonstration carried out by Youth Demand, who featured on the channel before as well. Also, just yesterday we mentioned a brief protest at the Cenotaph that they took part in, which I don't know if that's the reason why the police have been so over the top with this one. There were over 100 and odd police there, from what I understand. Before I show you some footage from that, as well as hear from some of the people who were arrested, I just want to show you this from Middle East Eye, all about the ICC. I did mention yesterday briefly as well that Labour are trying to pull out of the ICC warrant to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu and other members of his military. So, yeah, check this out. This is from Middle East Eye. Like I said, just pretty much lays it bare, to be honest.
Britain will not withdraw its objection to the International Criminal Court's arrest warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defence Minister Yoav Gallant. According to Israeli news outlet Maariv, British Foreign Secretary David Lammy confirmed that the UK will uphold its objection to the ICC's request for arrest warrants for Israeli leaders. In late May, ICC prosecutor Karim Khan filed applications for arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defence Minister Gallant, as well as Hamas leaders Yahya Sinwar, Ismail Haniyeh and Mohammed Deif for alleged war crimes. These applications must be approved by a panel of ICC judges, and the UK, an ICC member state, has lodged its objection at this stage, arguing that the 1993 Oslo Accords, which established a Palestinian National Authority, prevent Palestine from prosecuting Israelis for war crimes. This argument has been critiqued as flimsy by legal scholars. Palestine was accepted into the ICC in 2015, and in 2021, the court said it had the power to investigate war crimes in the occupied territories. Recently, The Guardian reported that the new Labour government was expected to drop a bid to delay the International Criminal Court's decision on whether to issue an arrest warrant for Netanyahu over alleged war crimes in Gaza. This comes after the Conservative government was accused of attempting to obstruct the prosecution of Israeli war crimes by delaying the ICC's decision. Reports indicate that the US lobbied the UK Labour government to maintain the legal challenge.
Just jumping in there to remind you of those numbers, as I pointed out on yesterday's live stream, that we know of. David Lammy's received £120,000 from Israel lobbies. 40% of the current, government under the influence of Israeli lobbies, and at least 50% of the cabinet, from what we know, as well. The Tories as well were, of course, massively lobbied by Israel. Starmer, we know, is an open Zionist himself. So it's just pass the buck, but there's not going to be any change now. When Lamy went to visit Israel and he's, shook hands with Netanyahu and other war criminals, for example, he's tried to say that he's there to negotiate a ceasefire, but you're going to have to look. The devil's in the detail, you see. It's going to say things like, so let's have a ceasefire, and that'll happen as soon as all the hostages are released, yeah? They're just going to be parroting Israeli demands with their version of a ceasefire. Don't forget what they did with that SNP amendment. This Starmer is one ruthless bastard. I will tell you that. He will use any... If you thought the Tories were bad for it, people like Johnson, May, Cameron, Sunak, Truss, whatever, they'll try and use any dirty trick in the book, whichever one of those you think is the worst. Starmer is at least on a par with them. This guy is ruthless, a ruthless careerist, and also an open Zionist, and that's a very dangerous combination as far as I'm fucking concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let us know what you think about that in the chat. I'm just going to go through a few of the comments now, actually, just quickly. Andy, you heard earlier that an Israeli news outlet was saying that the warrants were due in the next couple of weeks and that the ICC would ignore the UK's dispute. Well, good on them. Good on them. Well done, ICC. Right, yeah. There's more to come in this clip as well. Just wanted to point that out as well. You can't let them try and pull the wool over people's eyes where Palestine's concerned.
Mariv's report is confirmed. These lobbying efforts were successful. Over the weekend, Lamy met with Netanyahu, calling for a ceasefire and the return of hostages held by Hamas.
You see, that's the pertinent point, the important part that I was referring to. Those conditions.
Middle East Eye has reached out to the Foreign Office for further comments. For months, many voters across the UK voiced dissatisfaction with Labour over the party's initial stance during Israel's war on Gaza, when it called for an enduring cessation of fighting instead of an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire. Labour leader Keir Starmer also seemed to support Israel's decision to cut Gaza off from power, water and other necessities.
Well, it wasn't seemed to, although he tried to rule back on his original statement. He said that Israel does have that right. You're all familiar with that clip. I've certainly used it in videos, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. Anyway, the Nick Ferrari interview about cutting off water and power, etc. That clip. He was very clear about what he said before he realised how unpopular it was. He's backed the wrong horse, not just morally, but also against public opinion as well. And when he realised that, he tried to backfoot, tried to backstep. He's very crap at that. That's one thing he's not good at. Thinking on the spot. Improvisation in interviews. He's terrible in front of a crowd as well. So you've really got to put pressure on him.
Despite legal experts condemning the move as a war crime. However, the party later shifted its position, denying that Starmer had supported Israel's total siege.
Yeah, but we know the truth. We all know the truth. He's backed the wrong horse there. Unbelievable. Just having Sip of brew there. I'm having a bit of cake with mine tonight. I don't know what you have to accompany yours. And people are appalled at this. A lot of young people are appalled at this as well. And that's why Youth Demand chose to do a demonstration today against, the King's speech, whilst this parade's going on, and the King, in his carriage made of gold and finery, the horse-drawn carriage, goes and wears a hat worth £1 billion, and they have a parade and all this ceremony. And while that's happening, bombs are continuing to fall in Gaza, in Rafah, in Khan Yunis, in safe zones, and it's still schools and hospitals, women and children that are being targeted indiscriminately, and in combination with a severe lack of aid and a humanitarian crisis ongoing at the same time, the likes of which have never been seen. I saw one statistic earlier. Some of them get pretty bad. In the protest, Youth Demand, the same as they did yesterday at the Cenotaph, do point out that 180,000 people have been killed. But this other latest stat, because of the number of children that have been wounded as well in Palestine, per capita, Palestine now has the largest proportion of amputee children in the world. Per capita, there are more amputee children in the world in Palestine than anywhere else. It's catastrophic. It's catastrophic. So that's going on at the same time as all this pomp and ceremony, and like we saw earlier, patting each other on the back, getting pally-pally with each other. Aren't we great? We're making a real change in our country and in the world as well. We're so fantastic. But while they're busy, pardon the language, sucking each other's dicks, people are dying. People are under collective punishment and an occupation. And Keith certainly doesn't give a crap. And also, people are horrified that UK arms sales, whether direct or indirect, continue to happen. UK arms sales to Israel. Just one more thing before I show you some footage from the actual protest and the arrest itself. I do quickly want to point out something I read earlier. I don't have it queued up, lined up. I'll just quickly tell you what it was about. It's about the conflict on the border with Lebanon, and Hezbollah are obviously involved there. Hezbollah are backed by Iran, and the most recent reports are pretty worrying. It's basically teetering on the brink of all-out war, and you know how it goes. Unfortunately, how history repeats. The dominoes will fall, as I just pointed out and potentially foreshadowed there. If Israel goes to war with Lebanon, with Hezbollah in Lebanon, they, by proxy, by default, go to war with Iran. And then you have a potential situation where America will come and back up Israel, and then you have a proxy war between the United States of America and Iran. That's one potential scenario. You're also looking at other countries potentially getting involved. I believe Egypt have said that they're going to be cutting political ties with Israel as well. Iraq have been brought into this as well. That whole situation's very tense, and it's because of bastards like this on your screen. It's not about morals. It's not about principles. They take the checks. And they sleep well at night, you know. They don't have to worry. Can't stand it. Can't stand it. So these are the arrests as they happened with the Youth Demand protesters. Over 50 people at the demo were arrested. Just want to give a quick shout out to my friend Rangzen as well, who pointed this footage out to me. You can still hear the chanting as the arrests are being carried out. This is unbelievable. And remember as well, this is the thing, the sheer hypocrisy. At the same time, David Lammy says he's over in Israel trying to negotiate a ceasefire. This is what Starmer's Britain is doing. This, I don't know how much the Home Office were involved with this. I don't know how much the protest at the Cenotaph yesterday has to do with this. But let's say it wouldn't surprise me if it did have something to do with it, and if the Home Office were directly involved with this. They pretty much surrounded there's a ring around them with more police on other parts of the grass. This is at Victoria Embankment, by the way, for those of you who are familiar with that area of London. And it's a completely peaceful protest. They're waving flags and chanting and singing songs, which is pretty much a general protest. That this should happen. You can expect more of this. You can expect more of this with Starmer. He doesn't like protests. He doesn't like strikes. You're going to see more of this, and it's going to get, yeah, the scale of it's going to increase. It's appalling. And I've got a clip. This is actually from Youth Demand's Twitter page. By the way, if you want to check out Rangzen, who pointed this footage out to me, shout out again to Rangzen. You can check him out at Revolting Hippie on Twitter. I think that's all one word. Revolting Hippie is his Twitter handle. This next clip's from Youth Demand's Twitter page itself, and we're going to hear from another friend of mine, Sam. He's a great lad. He's actually in the past taken time out of study to take part in non-violent direct action with Youth Demand and Just Stop Oil as well. And he's one of the arrestees, so let's see what he's got to say. But it's just a peaceful protest. I can't believe this is happening. And then I just remind myself, oh, it's Starmer's Britain.
My name's Sam. I'm 22 years old. I've been arrested today for public nuisance, for
Again,
conspiracy to cause a public nuisance.
Now you're going to need to be using your
All I attempted to do, wanted to go and do, was wave a Palestinian flag at the state opening of Parliament. Obviously, the reason they're arresting me is to stop us from doing this, because the Parliament that's being opened today is covered in blood. We all know who the real public nuisance is. The real public nuisance is this government, it's Keir Starmer, it's Rachel Reeves, it's David Lammy. They are the real public nuisance. They have blood on their hands. They are the murderers, and we all know this. So it's time to resist. We have to step up. Youth Demand is going to be taking action. We're not going to stop. We're not going to be intimidated by repression. We're not going to be intimidated by arrest. I'm not going to stop doing this. We have to keep resisting. You can sign up at youthdemand.org. Join us in the streets.
I'm being arrested for no reason whatsoever. I was literally standing in the park. No comment. They're having a fucking parade while kids get bombed to pieces, right? This is the state we live in, right? It's completely unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable for weapons to flow through Israel after 5 schools have been bombed just this week. Everyone needs to be in civil resistance. You need to go to youthdemand.org and sign up today. They're having a fucking parade while kids get bombed.
Free Palestine!
I've been arrested for doing nothing. Wanting to peacefully wave a flag. Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
My name's Sam. I'm 22.
Well, that was obviously unexpected. And well done to them for showing solidarity with Palestine as well. I want to say, firstly, it's awful to see this happening to protesters. It's even worse when it concerns people you know. I've got to be honest, and you can see there. He's just 22 years old, but he's such a passionate, intelligent, and articulate guy. There to show solidarity, arrested for waving a flag. And as always, here on My Left Eye, I like to hear things from on the ground in Palestine and in Gaza, and especially hear from people who've lived there, who choose to protest and show support, of course, for a ceasefire, show support for Palestine. And this next clip is one such person. So this is a British person who lived in Palestine for about a decade, I believe. And let's hear her testimony as well. I'll keep you up to speed with this as well. What happens with these protesters? Hopefully, these charges will be dropped. I believe the official reason for the arrest was conspiracy to commit a public nuisance, which is bullshit, if you ask me. So I'll keep you up to speed with that, whether the charges will be dropped or not. But is this why Starmer's releasing prisoners earlier, so that he can lock up pro-Palestine protesters and climate protesters? Is that what he's going to do? Neo-lib dystopia. And we're about to hear exactly the sort of things that people like Sam are protesting against.
My name is Sue Sibani King. Sibani is an Arabic name from Palestine. I'm originally from North London. I now live in the Slough area. But when I was a teenager, I travelled to Israel, being told that it was a desert that had been turned into the land of milk and honey by Jewish immigrants. I got there and was horrified to hear that I should not speak to Arabs. I shouldn't get in a car with Arabs. They would rape me, murder me, steal my money. And I was shocked because I'd met Arabs in Morocco on a holiday and they weren't like that at all. When I got in the second car, because we were hitchhiking back in the day, I got exactly the same message as if it was form written. And I started to wonder why they were trying to turn me against another people. On the third time of hearing it, I thought I'm going to investigate and find out what is going on. I ended up staying in Palestine. I married a Palestinian Christian. I have 2 Palestinian daughters that were born in Palestine. And I lived there for 10 years and saw the apartheid as it was then, which is nothing compared to the atrocities and the apartheid that is going on now. And so for all those years ever since, I have been fighting this campaign. When we first moved back as a family, my children went to school and were asked, "Where are you from?" And they said Palestine. And people said, "Do you mean Pakistan?" People had never even heard of Palestine. So look how far we've come. Now everybody knows the word Palestine, and I will keep on until my dying breath telling everybody why we need to support Palestine. It's the longest going injustice of our times.
If you could summarize the history, in a minute, what actually happened? Is it Palestinian land? Is it Israeli land?
Okay, well, if you believe that anyone can claim a land from 2,000 years ago, I pity you, because if that's the case, most of us living in most of the world don't belong where we actually are and could all be kicked out. So that isn't a claim. If you listen to the Orthodox Jews, they also say that they are not supposed to have a land, that God didn't want them there. They're supposed to be dispersed throughout the whole world. So there's two reasons why Jews in Palestine was never a reason for them to go there. The whole thing was never about a Jewish homeland. It was always about a colonialist state. And the reason it was needed, as we've heard from Joe Biden fairly recently, if there was no Israel, we would have to create one.
Yeah, and it was created for just that very reason. It's a land grab, it's ethnic cleansing, it's also the theft of not just land, but also natural resources. Also, putting 2 million people in plight under a collective punishment. And that's the reason for the creation of Israel as a state, the 51st state of America, as they call it. Now, she touched on what Orthodox Jews think about this situation. There's also politically people pushing for a two-state solution as well. I'd love to get your thoughts about that in the comments. Do you agree with a two-state solution, or do you think that Israel as a project, as it were, I mean, that's a pretty poor turn of phrase to use, but has it failed? Has it failed in whatever it was set up to be? Let us know your thoughts in the chat or in the comments.
It's because it serves the interests of America and the West to have somebody there like a 51st state that they can control, which is why they support Israel completely, financially, with arms, and allow them total impunity in every violation of international law.
But lo and behold, it's got to the point where if that is, if that's the case, the tail's wagging the dog. Certainly. And Netanyahu and Israel, therefore, get increasingly unhinged, get increasingly desperate, get increasingly isolated. And we've already heard statements from Netanyahu that he disregards the opinion of any international court. He doesn't recognise what the UN have said about him. He doesn't recognise the warrants that the ICC have made. Well, let's just see him try and ignore that when he goes abroad to a country that is signed up to the ICC and see how he likes that. It won't be as cushy as having the Home Secretary David Lammy coming over and shaking hands and lots of back-patting, lots of deals being done there. I'm pretty sure it won't be as cosy as that. The man should be in prison for war crimes. You mentioned earlier some of the leaders of Hamas as well were also named by the ICC for what happened on October the 7th. In terms of disproportionate response, though, Israel, as we know, really has gone overdrive, and using whatever Hamas did on October the 7th as an excuse is just appalling, because this, of course, didn't begin on October 7th. It's been going on since 1948, as well we know. But also, that's no reason to commit such atrocities as they've done since that time. And as always, on My Left Eye, we'll show solidarity with Palestine, with Gazans, and try and keep you up to speed on the situation there. Please do your best to support Palestinians as much as you can, whether it's through protest, whether it's through raising your voice in other ways. But do whatever you can. We're half a world away, but we have to rise up together and stand in solidarity with Gaza. And don't let these right-wing wankers grind you down either. I saw some clips of, is it Talk TV with James Whale and the other guy, the pair of idiots. But they had someone on recently, and they basically said, if you care so much, why don't you just go there? I've had it on, I think, social media as well before, where someone's even actually gone so far as saying, and I can't believe this, if I care so much, why don't I just fly to Palestine? It's not as though all of the airports got decimated years ago by, you'll just have to bear with me. I'm really going to have to check my notes here on this one. Got it. It's written down here somewhere. This guy who destroyed all the airports in Palestine. Oh, yes, Israel. Yeah, pay no notice to these kind of people. Yes, Paula, Free Palestine. Thanks a lot for using the static emoji there. Exclusive, and the more we grow as a community, the more static emojis I get to put up as well. Don't forget that. So please do help the channel reach more people. Hit the thumbs up button. Spread us through your social media as well. That really does help to get the content out there. Thanks a lot for that. We're also on Twitter, if you want to follow us at MyLeftEye UK. And also, please do consider joining the channel as Paula's done earlier in the live stream with a membership. Thanks again, Paula, for that show of solidarity. That's going to just about do it for clips and stuff, but while I'm on that topic, I just want to quickly thank all of the current existing members. Paula, of course, your name will be added to this list, so the next time I do a live stream or release a video, that'll be up there. Yeah, so I'll be back with more Brews at 10 later in the week. Also, don't forget, there's the Sunday live stream. That's usually around 7 PM. And I'm hoping to have 1 or 2 videos out between now and then as well. Busy, busy, busy on My Left Eye. Yeah, so I'll be keeping you up to speed with what's happened on the stories I mentioned tonight, plus all the latest news and debate as usual. Thanks a lot for being here tonight. You've all been wonderful. Thank you so much for being cordial and polite in the chat, as always. If you're watching on a replay and not live, please do add a comment, and I'll try and do my best to get back to as many of those as possible. Don't mind a bit of open debate in the comments either, as long as it's polite and cordial. Don't worry, let's just say the trolls will be at the back of the queue for getting a response, if they even get one at all. But no, the comments have been mostly supportive, and I really do appreciate that. I've been your host, Lefty, here on the Brews at 10 with My Left Eye. So until next time, everybody, hope you'll take very good care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you soon. Good night, everyone.